This is a lecture from Open Tuition. For the free lecture notes that go with this podcast, please visit opentuition.com.
Can you look at example 2? It won't take many minutes, but please listen and be clear why I'm doing what we're doing. This time I've actually given you some... You know when I said before, you're appraising projects, we need to know how to appraise it. You know how to set up cash flows, you know? Here, for reasons you'll see, I've actually given you cash flows. I've said a company's considering a project that has the following after-tax cash flows. I've kept this as easy as I can. It's going to cost 100 million. It's going to give you 40 million a year for 5 years. Okay? Now, in an exam, the cash flows will be more complicated. It'll take you time to read and to set up. Yeah? Hello? It's just I need some figures here, you know. You'll see why. I said earlier that our problem when we come to appraise, we can't simply use weighted average because if the risk of the project changes and or the gearing changes, weighted average wouldn't work. All right? And what's happening here? We found the beta of the project. It's 1.5. And how would you find the beta? Oh, he may give you, but otherwise you'd find a similar company and you'd ungear. Okay? I've given you market rates and so on. And I've said, calculate the gain to shareholders if the project is to be financed entirely from equity. 70% equity, 30%, whatever. All right? So it is similar in a sense to what we did earlier. One way or another, we get the project beta. But we've got to deal with different ways of financing. All right? Now, you saw what we did earlier. This time, we're going to do it differently. And as we go through, I'll tell you why we've got this different approach and how to know in the exam. Okay? So, let's have a look. First of all, A, entirely from equity. Well, here, exactly the same as before, with exactly the same logic. If you finance entirely from equity, you find the beta of the project. You can look back later. It's exactly what we did last time. There we had to use similar project ungear. Here I've given it you. What was it? I've walked away. It's 1.5. Okay? And I will write down, use similar company. This bit's just a shorter version of before. Okay? We're all equity. Well, if a project's that risk, you calculate the shareholders' required return. And the shareholders' required return, just like before, risk-free plus beta times the premium. The risk-free rate is 5%. The beta's 1.5. The market is 15 as against 5. What does it come to? 10, 15? Is it 20%? Everybody? And therefore, we'll discount at 20%. Now please do realise this is no different at all from what we did before. Whatever happens, if it's all equity financed, project beta required return, discount. Yes, Katerina? This time, because of what's coming, I am actually going to discount. As I say, I've kept the cash flows easy. It wouldn't matter how hard they were. But here are the cash flows. It's an outflow of 100 million. It's an inflow of 40 million a year for 5 years. We've got an annuity. It makes it nice and easy. So the present value at 20%. Outflow of 100. The discount factor, 5 years. It was 5, was it? Yeah, 5 years at 20. Your Katerina, it's your annuity factor. Yeah. 5 years at 20. The factor is 2.991. The present value is... Is it 119.64? The NPV is 19.64. Now I keep saying what's coming isn't hard. It's very easy indeed, in fact. It won't take many minutes. But are you all, please, happy what we've done there? You, Katerina?
Yeah.
Reda?
Yeah.
Natalia? Number 2, do you all agree it's exactly the same we did before? Exactly. And finally, I know, I won't say this again, I kept those cash flows easy, I don't want to get messed up there. But in principle, it wouldn't matter how messy the cash flows were. You've done that before. Set up the flows takes a lot longer, if there were lots of other information. But you'll discount at 20%. Positive accept, negative reject, And in fact, we do actually say, this is a gain to the shareholders. It gave 119, we only paid 100. There's a gain to shareholders of 19.64. All right? Now, though, look at Part B. Part B says we're going to do exactly the same project, but we're going to finance it from debt. Partly from debt, I beg your pardon. Okay? Now listen. Why? What did we do last time? Last time we worked out a weighted average cost for the project and discounted at a lower rate, And the project was better. Sorry, we didn't do the discounting, but because the cost of money was lower, but why is more debt going to be better? There is only one reason. Why?
Tax relief.
There's tax relief on debt. That's the only thing that makes debt any better. If there was no tax relief, the overall cost of money would be the same whatever happened. The NPV would be the same whatever happened. The only reason Part B is going to be better, if you like, is because overall the cost of money will be cheaper, and the only reason is because there's tax relief on debt. And with adjusted present value, we do this. We say the NPV, if all equity financed, we've just done. It's 19.64. You've seen the workings, we've done it. We call that the project gain. And whatever happens, the project's worth to us 19.64, even if it's all equity. But if you're using debt, I just said, and I won't repeat the whole sentence, but if we're using some debt to finance the project, it'll make the project more worthwhile. And the only reason will be because of the tax saving on debt. And so let's calculate separately the tax benefit of debt. It's the tax saving. Let's work out how much tax are we going to save each year. We're raising 30% of the money from debt. Now look back, the project cost 100 million. You agree? So if the project cost us 100, 30% of that comes from debt. True? We'll have to pay interest on that. Well, we've no choice but to assume, as usual, that debt is risk-free. Yeah? So, you'd pay 5% interest. You all still with me? Everybody? And how much tax will we save, therefore? Well, you'll save the tax each year on that much interest. The tax rate is 30%. And so I think that we're going to save each year 30% of 100 million, 5% interest, 30% tax saving. I get 0.45 million. You're all clear where that figure came from? That's our benefit here. It's the same project, exactly the same project. The only difference is, if the money comes from debt, in addition to all the ordinary flows from the project, we're going to save 0.45 million a year. I'll treat that as workings. The tax saving, 0.45 million per annum. Agreed? We're going to save that every year. Well, if the debt is irredeemable, if we're never repaying, surely you're paying interest every year forever, you're saving that much tax forever. Do you agree? Remember, 1 to infinity, perpetuity. We say, what's the benefit of that saving? We'll discount it. We're going to save 0.45 million a year. Let's discount it to get the present value. All right? Hello? Mm-hmm. Oh, problem is, what rate shall I discount at? Well, of course, it always depends on the riskiness. How risky is the debt? 0. We've assumed the debt is risk-free. You agree? And so we assume we're certain to be paying interest each year. How risky is the tax saving? 0. You're certain to be saving that much tax each year. We discount it at the risk-free rate. Now, the risk-free rate here was what, 5%? Can anyone remember how we discount a perpetuity 1 to infinity? Oh, yes, of course you can.
Why is this tax saving every year if we are raising finance just once?
Hey, hold on. The tax saving is on the interest. You only save tax on the interest. If it's irredeemable, you're paying interest every year. You got it? You sure?
Yeah.
All right, my turn to ask the question. Sorry, this not on the tables, Reda. Can anyone remember how it is?
Very easy.
What? Oh, she remembers it was very easy. Yeah. If it's, for 5 years, you've annuity tables. If it's just for 1 year, you've got your ordinary tables. At perpetuity, when it's 1 to infinity, the discount factor is 1 over R, where R's the interest rate. Well, here, 5%, the discount factor is 1 over 0.05. I get 9 million. You clear arithmetically? Everybody? Well then, I know mine's got a mess. I don't know if yours has. What we say is this. The project is giving us 19.64. That's what it'd give if we financed it by equity. It's the same project, whatever happens, same cash flows, It's giving 19.64. If we bring in debt, it's going to be more worthwhile. The overall cost changes. Equity want more, debt very cheap and so on. But the only effect of using debt, the only reason weighted average falls, is because we get tax relief on debt. And so on this approach, we keep the two separate. If it was all equity, it's 19.64. If there was no tax relief on debt, it'd be 19.64. That's coming from the project. I say, okay, we were raising debt. What's the benefit? It's that tax saving, and you are happy now, it's that much a year. We discount, and we say, right, we're getting 9 million, the tax saving on debt. And we say, okay, the total benefit for Part B, the total benefit is 28.64. We call that the adjusted present value. Now we agree, the extra work involved there is trivial. You've got to be able to discount projects, obviously, whatever the rate. Well, that extra 9 million, no big deal. You with me? Hello? You all happy arithmetically there? All right. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but there's not much here. If we have done that, it's actually quite useful. Because whatever happens, this project is worth doing. Positive yes, negative no. Okay? Whatever happens, raising more finance is worth doing. You agree? You always want to raise more finance. Modigliani Miller says so. Usually, the two are tied together. You don't normally raise more finance without investing somewhere. You don't normally invest somewhere without raising more finance. Here we're saying the two together are sensible, obviously. Positive 28.64. Overall, it's worth doing. Is the debt worth raising? Of course it is. Always. Is the project worth doing? Of course it is. Whatever, yeah? Now, you may be wondering, well, why didn't we do it the other way? Well, you could have done. You know the alternative which we were doing earlier, didn't we work out a weighted average cost for the project? And I said you would discount at the new weighted average. Now, okay, we didn't actually discount, we worked out the percent. Here, without debt, the discount rate was 20. With debt, I'm not going to waste time, but the weighted average maybe was 18 or something. Discount at 18, you obviously get a higher MPV. Yeah? Believe me, if you did it the other way, you would get exactly the same answer. Believe me. If you don't, there's your homework. All right? Work out betas and everything else. The reason, though, for this other way is this. I said earlier, although you do what you can in the exam, one problem with working out a new weighted average and so on, it assumed debt was irredeemable. Okay? Here, we've assumed debt is irredeemable, and believe me, the other way would have given the same final result. But of course, in real life, debt isn't irredeemable. And what's quite common in real life, would you agree with me? Quite commonly, you borrow money for the duration of the project. It's not a rule, but you certainly can't borrow forever. And it's very likely, if it's a 10-year project, you're likely to borrow for 10 years, you know. The beauty of this way is we can deal with anything. Because look at Part C. Part C, again, you won't get asked to do Part A, Part B, Part C. It'd be any one of them. But Part C, it's exactly the same project. We're going to raise it 70% equity, 30% debt, but the debt's going to be repayable in 5 years. Okay? Use whatever you're given, but I say that's quite common. If it's a 5-year project, borrow money for 5 years. I think you'd agree. Well, look how easy it is now. On this approach, whatever we do, we say the project gain. Look back, but remember, that's the MPV if it was all equity finance. We'd worked that out at the beginning, and what did we get? If it was all equity, the project gave us 19.64 MPV. Everybody? Everybody. Why are we better off raising debt? Because of the tax benefit, and so on. So let's add on the tax benefit. The benefit again is you'll save tax on the interest. True? Katerina? Yes. Well, I've kept it the same, so we're still going to raise 30 million debt. It's 5%, the tax rate's this. Would you all agree the tax saving on the interest is 0.45 million per year? Same workings as before. But this time, of course, for how many years are you going to be saving that tax? For 5 years. So instead of being irredeemable, it's from years 1 to 5. What's the benefit of the tax saving? Well, it's the present value. Again, it's risk-free on the assumptions. We'll discount at the risk-free rate of 5%. The 5-year annuity factor at 5% is 4.329? True? And so, the present value of the benefit, I think, to two places, is it 1.95 million? I'm not surprised it's smaller, obviously. You're not getting the benefit for as long. What's the overall gain as a result? Or the adjusted present value? It's 21.59. You worry me, Natalia, is my arithmetic wrong? Oh, good. All right? So, just to summarise. Hello? Natalia, you look very worried. You sure?
I'm just thinking, but we should not take to account and make this repayment of this loan.
No, because the repayment isn't tax allowable, and the only effective debt is the tax saving.
But it does not influence any net present value of
No.
the project.
No. No, quite simply because the only effect, the only reason it makes things any different is because you get the tax benefit. All right? So otherwise you're happy. All right, just to summarise, please. Just to summarise. You're almost certain to have to deal with a situation where you're doing a project and you're financing it by changing the gearing. You know, you're raising debt, whatever. Yeah? There are two ways. You either work out a weighted average cost of capital for the project, which was that other chapter, and you discount at that rate. And that gives you straight to the NPV, positive do it, negative don't. Alternatively, you take an adjusted present value approach. You still need the beta of the project, but you discount the project as though it was all equity. If there is any debt, you then add on the present value of the tax saving. All right? Now, the project itself, of course, could be positive, could be negative. I think you'd agree. But the final result, you add on the tax saving. And as I said, if it was the real reason for having the two ways, if it was irredeemable, trust me, you would end up with the same final answer, whichever way you did it. All right? Believe me, I spent hours proving it to myself when when this first appeared, sort of thing. But although there are still some problems and reservations and assumptions, the beauty of adjusted present value, although it's not perfect, you can, if you like, deal with redeemable, which is a bit more practical. You'd agree? The problem it raises, finally, and then I'll let you go, but the problem it raises the exam is, of course, in the middle of an exam, how do I know which one to do? Well, whenever he's wanted adjusted present value, he specifically asked for it. There's been no argument. Here's the information. Calculate the adjusted present value. You're not left there puzzling for 5 minutes and trying to do both, Anyway, there we are. Okay?